Right, so today's presentation is about the Michigan Green Chemistry Clearinghouse. And to start off our presentation, I'm going to be co-presenting with Deborah Steckedy, who is the Associate Professor of Sustainable Business at Aquinas College here in Grand Rapids. And she's also the Executive Director for the Center for Sustainability at Aquinas College. And we'll be co-presenting, and to kick us off, I'll turn over to Professor Steckedy for the first slide.
Great. Thank you, Clinton, and welcome to all of you who are on this webinar. It's great to have you express your interest and enthusiasm for green chemistry, so I hope that we will present something that is another way for you to engage. I just wanted to basically situate the idea of green chemistry within the broader context of sustainability, and really within that area, the idea of sustainable business. As Clinton mentioned, I'm a professor here of sustainable business, and we're very enthused with the kind of response that we've had from young people who are looking to enter into a new space for business, serving society, having an idea about ecological integrity and working to restore that, and then also, of course, making money. Green chemistry fits prominently into that sustainable business context. And when we look at that, we're really talking about not only our aspiration for what we think the world can become, as well as the action, change, and business opportunities that a focus on sustainable business can offer. So we come to this idea of innovation in science really as a business imperative, given the kinds of resource limitations that are changing the way we conduct business. Green chemistry offers a lot for scientists. I'm also going to tell you that it offers a lot for managers, and we hope that by developing the resources through the Michigan Green Chemistry Clearinghouse that we can harness information, insights, and engagement that can help promote that economic development potential that green chemistry can bring to all of us. So this is just our way of situating this. When people ask me, well, why are you doing a green chemistry clearinghouse? It's really because it's not just about the science. It's about science put in service to society and the natural world.
Okay. Thanks, Deb. So I'll take it from there. So my intent today is to inform our attendees about the clearinghouse, let them know what it is, and hopefully what it will be able to do for them, but at the same time to make an ask. And the ask is to encourage you to become a member of our clearinghouse, to participate in our clearinghouse, and become a part of the interactive community that we are trying to build and foster in Michigan and in the Great Lakes and broader arena through the use of the clearinghouse. So basically, one of the key messages I have for you today is to please remember this URL that you now see on the screen. This will be the official home of the Michigan Green Chemistry Clearinghouse, www.migreenchemistry.org. Now we've spent a lot of time designing the feel of the clearinghouse, including kind of the branding and as you can see on the screen, the design of a logo, choice of colors, and things like that. So if you go as part of that kind of branding strategy, our IT person has also added a nice little touch, if you're familiar with the IT world, in developing what's called favicons, basically favorite icons, so that when you actually type in the Michigan Green Chemistry Clearinghouse in your browser, or if you search through it through Google, what will come up is you'll see the Michigan Green Chemistry Clearinghouse, and then this little icon off here on the left is called the favicon. Hopefully you will bookmark us and add us to your favorites, and that little icon will help you remember who we are. So again, just a nice little touch that we're proud of. But before I climb into the details of the clearinghouse, I just wanted to provide some context about how this project was created, basically to reiterate the point that this is a project funded by the state of Michigan. So basically, it all starts back in 2006 when the then former governor of Michigan, Jennifer Granholm, issued an executive directive on green chemistry that was titled Promotion of Green Chemistry for Sustainable Economic Development and Protection of Public Health. This executive directive is still available on the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality website. And one of the things that executive directive called for was the creation of a Michigan Green Chemistry program housed within the Department of Environmental Quality. And importantly, it was housed in the compliance assistance and education part of the DEQ rather than in the regulatory agency. So this is very much a non-regulatory program with the intent of promoting and fostering the growth of green chemistry in Michigan for the purposes of protecting public health and job creation and economic development. As a part of that green chemistry program, the executive directive called for the creation of a green chemistry roundtable, which is experts on green chemistry and green chemistry practitioners, champions around Michigan that volunteer in this roundtable to advise the state on its green chemistry program. So over the years, this joint effort between the green chemistry program and the green chemistry roundtable led to the creation of a green chemistry action plan. And that action plan calls for a number of steps that basically a strategic plan on the short-term, mid-term, and long-term about what the state can do to foster green chemistry. So again, this is a worthwhile reading to kind of get a sense of how states, at a state level, the fostering of green chemistry is being approached. Some of the actions that have come out of that plan, Lynn alluded to this already. One is an annual Michigan Governor's Green Chemistry Awards program. This is now in its third year, so again, October 27th. If you're able to attend, please do. And you can see who our next line of businesses and academics that have been awarded this prestigious Green Chemistry Award. The timing of that event, the Green Chemistry Awards program, is with the Michigan Green Chemistry Conference, which is held on an annual basis as well. So again, that date is October 27th. Another thing that was within the action plan that was identified was the creation. Action 2 was the creation of a resource clearinghouse for green chemistry activities within the state. And so this was clearly identified as a need and a value-added proposition to create some kind of clearinghouse which brought together all the resources and to share those resources with a wider audience. So the way the state has enabled this particular action item is it does have a pool of money that it can use to fund various projects, green chemistry-related projects. And the decision was made to use that grant money to create this clearinghouse. So an RFP was released, and it was a competitive process, and ultimately the grant was awarded to the partners that you see now on the screen. So I'd like to turn back to Deb and just kind of explain to us and kind of just introduce you to all our partners for this program.
Thanks, Clinton. One of the great things about this project has been the public-private partnership that has developed out of this. And we are very thankful for the support that was provided to us by the Department of Environmental Quality. So the Clearinghouse's efforts are being funded with a 3-year grant from the state of Michigan. And we are thankful for that support. It really speaks to the commitment and the priority that this has within Michigan's economic development and public health concerns. As the Center for Sustainability, we are managing the grant and are working very closely with all of our partners. The technical aspects of the grant and the day-to-day operation and really the guts of the grant, SRG has been very instrumental and is taking the lead on that piece of it. Grand Valley is our education partner in that they have a green chemistry education department and have been involved with helping bring green chemistry to classrooms throughout Michigan. And so we're thankful for the kind of insights and information and content that they will be able to help us with. And Lynn, of course, is helping us, and we're particularly enthused about bringing this to the future, and the Great Lakes Green Chemistry Student Network will be a very important part of that, and we're thankful for Lynn's assistance with that kind of outreach and focus. The Ecology Center is also helping us with the public outreach portion of our efforts. And finally, Blue Sphere is the guts behind what you see in our IT area. They've been terrific in terms of really helping us work through this challenge of preparing a site that really works well to create this interactive community as well as providing information. So we are working together. We've got a very set work plan to help us accomplish the goals that we've promised to provide. But we're also learning along the way together, I think, about what is important to those businesses, to those scientists, to those educators, and to the general public about what they would like from this clearinghouse as well. And we're hoping to get some input from you all that are on the line for that moving forward.
Okay, thanks, Deb.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now, just to give you a quick summary of the objectives of the clearinghouse, there's 3 bullets listed here, and the first one talks about creating informational content and resources pertaining to green chemistry in Michigan, and that's classically what people think about when they hear the word clearinghouse. It's going to be another website that brings resources to people around green chemistry. But on top of that, and more importantly, and we think more exciting is the requirement that this clearinghouse must also build and grow a dynamic community, get actually people communicating and interacting around green chemistry, and basically having all this interaction occurring, tunneling, kind of channeled through the clearinghouse. It's not just this static, kind of typical web-based approach with all this just information. There's actually a very dynamic community. And on top of that, obviously the focus is green chemistry, and specifically in green chemistry in Michigan. But we need to deliver this informational content and grow this dynamic community to place, to help out grow the green chemistry in Michigan, and create a kind of environment of leadership around green chemistry in Michigan. But at the same time, we want to, connect Michigan to the wider national and international green chemistry community. Bring them, connect us out to them, to existing, efforts around the country and internationally on green chemistry, but also to make the world aware of what we're doing here in Michigan. Bring them to us, let them come see what we're up to in this arena. So, on top of that, when we talk about creating this green chemistry community, one of the other things that the RFP that the state really wanted to do is, well, who is that community? Who is our audience for this clearinghouse? And pretty much it's everybody. And the state wants the clearinghouse to be useful for the education sector, both higher education and K through 12, for policy work, for governments, for the general public, for industry, and for specific industry sectors. And you can appreciate that the green chemistry content that would be needed in some ways is going to be very general across the board for everyone, but at the same time needs to be also very sector specific. What may be of interest to someone in the auto industry can be very different to someone in the chemical industry or in the office furniture industry, and all that can be very different to someone in K through 12 education versus higher education. So we were given this very broad challenge of not only creating this content and creating this dynamic community, but also making it valuable to a very wide audience, and then to even make it kind of just make an extra layer of complexity. The state wanted us to do this in a way that took advantage of the latest fads and progresses made in the IT, the whole idea of creating interactive communities, as we've seen with Facebook and MySpace, I guess that's an old one, but LinkedIn and all this kind of file sharing that's going on. So once we've created the system, the final condition was that basically we had to use everything that had to be open source, relying on kind of Creative Commons type approach, rather than creating a proprietary type system. So in order to meet all these requirements, it was very important that we find an IT partner that was able to, partners could envision what we wanted, but to actually work with an IT partner that was able to make that vision come to life. And that's what I'm going to show you today, is pretty much the IT side of things that Blue Sphere helped create for us. Okay, so if you click on that migreenchemistry.org URL right now, what you'll see is just a WordPress site. It's just a placeholder right there. It's just a one page. There's nothing else there right now. I show this slide just to show you that one of the first decisions we made in terms of the open source was to use WordPress. It's a content management system that's open source that everyone's becoming very familiar with, and it's becoming very popular for creating websites. But the same thing, WordPress has this extra functionality to it that there are things called widgets and plugins and all kinds of little software, I don't know what the word is, but packages, if you like, or programs that can really enhance the functionality of something like WordPress. And we've utilized that to the full extent, and I want to show you some of those. But the key thing is that there's already an existing community out there in the IT world of people that are continually developing plugins and widgets and new themes for WordPress. And they are already a part of the Creative Commons, and when they've designed these things, they're making them available to the wider community. So what you're going to see today is the elements that we have selected, to meet our deliverables today. But the logic behind the creation of the site is such that as long as there's IT geniuses out there creating new plugins and widgets for us, we'll always be able to enhance and add those elements to our program. So what I'm going to do is now show you a sneak peek of what we've created so far. This is on the development server, and it helps me demonstrate some of those IT functionalities. So hopefully up on the screen, what you'll see, this is actually will be the future live page of the Clearinghouse, and the photographs will look a little different. Those are just placeholders for now. But the first thing I want to show you here is you'll see on the top left-hand corner, it basically says welcome guest, click to log in or register. And I want to start here just to make people realize that we are asking the green chemistry community, we're asking participants in our Clearinghouse to register to use the site. The registration is free. The type of information you have to provide is basically as minimal as your email. But if we have to have an email address to get into the system. But beyond that, we do ask a lot more, but it's up to you. It's very optional about how much information you want to disclose. If you want everyone to know who you are and what you do, and you want to promote yourself in green chemistry in the community, you're welcome to do that. But one of the reasons why we decided to do this is that, as I'm going to show you, is that basically, anyone who's a guest that comes here and chooses not to register, they'll be able to navigate through the site as pretty much like you would any other website. They'll be able to read pages and read the content. But in order to participate in all the interactive features that we have, we do require people to register, because again, some of those interactive features allow you to, for example, participate in discussion boards and blogging and mailing lists and all kinds of other features that I'm going to show you. So we have to be able to control for inappropriate behavior, inappropriate activities on the site. So by having your email, we can basically control if there's inappropriate behavior, we can actually block that person's email and prevent further activity on the site. And again, I think we can all appreciate that there are a lot of these consequences of file sharing and social media type systems is what are called stalkers, and that kind of just emails that are really fake emails, and they're just there to spam and collect information. So we do try and control against all that. The other reason why I wanted to show when you're a registered user is that behind the scene of this content management system, we have a very powerful capabilities manager that allows us to change the permissions page by page and activity by activity on the site. So by default, when you register, and in order to do that, you just click on the button register, and this little screen comes up, and you just go through here and you follow the process. So I'll show you now. So once you've gone through that process, you will see what will happen is the top navigation bar will now actually become personalized, and for you, it will recognize who you are if you've given your name. Otherwise, just your email would be there. But it kind of shows you all the things that you can do. Now, because I'm an administrator, you'll see here that I can edit pages, for example. So by default, when someone registers to the site, they will be a subscriber, which means that basically they can participate in all the interactive forums, but they can't edit pages, they can't delete pages, they can't create new content. However, over time, we are hoping that this community will actually be, we will seed this with some initial content, and over the next 2 years of the grant, we will continue to add new content to the site. But we really want this to be, kind of a grassroots effort and built from the ground up, and we're hoping that over time that our members of our community will help us, keep the content growing and fresh. So one of the things that we can do is once someone is registered into the site, we can actually change your permissions. And so, for example, you may be asked to provide an expert opinion on something, or write a white paper, or, basically provide some content somewhere in the site. And we can do that. We can change the status and allow you to basically what's called a content provider status. And that can be very dynamic. We can switch it on, and switch it off as we want. Okay, so one of my asks for you today is to, if you haven't already, and most, you may have heard me talk about the Clearinghouse before, but if you haven't heard this, my request before, I do ask you to please register for the site, consider becoming a member of our site. You can do that if you're interested in being added to our mailing list. Then just, at the end of this webinar, you will typically get a follow-up email from the go-to system asking for feedback, and that gets directed to my email, so that's one way to contact me. Otherwise, if you go to that URL today, you'll see my email address, then you can send me an email. Towards the end of the presentation, I will give you some timelines about when we'll be going live with the Clearinghouse. The next thing I wanted to show you on this, to get into the actual nitty-gritty here, is one of the first things I wanted you to notice is in green there are 4 primary tabs up on the screen. So again, our first challenge when we designed the system is we don't know, we have a very broad audience, and we don't necessarily know who is coming and why they're coming to the Clearinghouse. So we decided that, we took the logic that we've created is generally is one sector specific. We recognize that people may be, so we broadly divided up the content into education, public, industry, and government. Those are kind of like the major sectors. So they hopefully will capture, whoever is coming will fall into one of those 4 categories. So that's one way they could possibly interact, know how to enter the site. But also, over time, we recognize that there will be people that are coming looking for content specific to for a specific reason, either for their sector like education, or there's a specific resource or tool that they're looking for. But other people are coming because they want to interact. The reason why they're visiting today is they want to see what's going on in the forum boards, or they want to take advantage of one of the other interactive elements. So the logic we've come up with is basically starting from the right. The first 7 pages are going to be your typical more website type pages. So you can basically target the area that you're interested in immediately. And then everything that's going to be interactive is housed under the interact icon or tab off on the left. Now that said, we've also made sure that throughout the whole site that you can navigate back and forth between the various pages, and there will be interactive elements that are weaved throughout all the pages. And I'll show you in a couple of those in a moment. So let's say, for example, now that someone came here and they were new to green chemistry and that heard about this Clearinghouse, they had found it and didn't really know, what green chemistry was. So obviously we can't have little flags that say go here, because we just can't accommodate everything. But let's assume that the word toolbox sounds appealing to them. So you can see if they click on toolbox, what happens is you get a drop down into the second level of our navigation tree, and you can see some examples there of some of the pages, menus that will appear. Now, the first thing we need to understand about WordPress is that we are limited by the number of primary tabs we can have. We can't actually have more than 8 that are up there. But once we click onto the secondary level, where you see definition of green chemistry, 12 principles of green chemistry, etc., that menu can be limitless. It can just keep scrolling down the page. But again, of course, we've tried to be strategic in saying, okay, if someone clicked on the toolbox, what should be visible first? And hopefully something like when you see a menu that says definition of green chemistry, 12 principles of green chemistry, that immediately is what hits what you were looking for. And again, you can see that what unites all the content together, whether it's education, public, industry, or government, or Michigan specific, is the fact that this is a green chemistry site. So it makes sense to, rather than talk about green chemistry, what is green chemistry under each one of those individual pages, it's something that's common to the whole site, so we have that off here in the toolbox. I'll go into the definition of green chemistry and show you those pages in a moment, but just a couple other things. For example, we also have through kind of talking to people and getting a sense of what different organizations are looking for. We know that, for example, manufacturers, when they think about green chemistry, they really are thinking about chemical assessment tools. And one of the things that they have been very excited about, what they would like to see on the site is kind of a one-stop shop where they can find out resources on chemical assessment tools. And so that's why that the third menu option there is so prominent there as well. So if we click on the definition, if we click on the definition of green chemistry, basically now you can kind of see the logic of, again, these are not finished pages. This is just to showcase what it'll look like. Kind of shows you the structure again of the clearinghouse. Pretty much every page, we have different templates designed to different pages, but typically the way it works is that there's a text box where you would see your normal type of text, and then there are what are called widget boxes or plug-in boxes that can be arranged around the major site to either to lead to other pages or to try and help connect the various pages together in the clearinghouse. So here's an example of the definition of green chemistry. I will say at this point, even though there's a sidebar, that of course there are lots of different definitions out there. If you scrolled down, you would see that there are actually multiple definitions here. Again, we are trying to be informative and recognize that there are different definitions of green chemistry out there. And that you may be thinking, well, what's the big deal about that? But if you're involved in this world of green chemistry, sometimes you know how important a definition can be. So, but at the same time, the clearinghouse, Michigan Green Chemistry Clearinghouse, part of the RFP and part of the recognition of the clearinghouse is that the content needs to be true to the mission of the Michigan Green Chemistry Program. The Michigan Green Chemistry Program went through an exercise with its roundtable to determine what does green chemistry mean to Michigan, and it came up with its own with a definition. But as a part of that process, it basically recognized that the definition of Anastas and Warner and the set of 12 principles that go with it, the decision was made is that was what green chemistry means for the state of Michigan and for this program. So that's why there's those are put up front and center right here on this page. But again, see, here's an exciting opportunity of where we can try and, instead of just being static about it, we want to get some dialogue. So off here on the right, you'll see that, this is meant to be a teaser, if you like. It's just to give you a sense of the kind of thing that we can do. So we can use these widget boxes to basically encourage people to say, as you'll see here, I'll say, what do you think of these definitions? Some people disagree about these definitions. Some people think that green chemistry and sustainable chemistry are the same thing. Some people disagree. They think that they are different. So again, we can utilize those differences of opinions to hopefully get some traffic and get some discussion going. So you can see here that there's an invitation for you to, why don't you create a discussion about this under the Interact tab. Express your opinion about these definitions. The glossary box there just is basically another widget that just reminds you that links you to other pages. You're looking for other definitions, well, go look in the glossary section. You might find some more things there. What's not shown here is right now this is a very simple widget that says it's just basically a text box widget. But we have a plugin that's called Formidable Form. We can design any kind of forms that we want to. So in the future, we could actually create a poll type form, and whatever we wanted to on any page, we could run a poll that says, vote for your, vote for your, maybe not your favorite definition, but I'll give you an example here under, if you go to the 12 principles of green chemistry. So because these definitions are integrally linked to the set of principles, they're linked, and if people click on that, that immediately takes them to 12 principles of green chemistry. And then there off on the side, same kind of idea. If someone not familiar with these 12 principles, not sure what they mean, there's a little text box here that says if you click on any of these, and obviously I can't do that now because they're not live, but if you click on it, it'll take you to case studies. on those 12 principles. Now you can appreciate that the case studies may look different in an auto industry versus an office furniture industry or at the educational level. So so those case studies are already populated throughout the website, for its respective areas. So instead of duplicating them here, if someone is interested in here, if they're entering the clearinghouse from this side, they will just click on one of these principles, and it will take them, let them select what case studies they're interested in from the rest of the site. Then you can see off on the right there how the navigation would work to another level, right? So you found the 12 principles of green chemistry, but you're also interested in the 12 principles of green engineering or the precautionary principle. How does this relate to the precautionary principle? How does it relate to the substitution principle? So you can navigate off to these other pages. Okay, so let me just move a little faster in the interest of time. So I made some reference to some of the interactive elements, so let's go over there. So if you go out to interact, you now see the drop down the menu and it talks about there's a calendar, there's forums, there's all kinds of various interactive elements that you can participate. So I'll just run through those quickly just to give you a sense of the logic. A calendar, I mean, even though it's just a calendar and it's like no big deal, but the nice thing about this is that we are using Google calendars, that basically what you're seeing is actually being streamed in directly from Google. And what it allows us to do is that anyone who's a member of the site will have access to the Google Calendar. And you can go and add in any events that you know of around green chemistry. And anything that you add as a member will automatically appear in this calendar. At the same time, Google Calendar allows us to tag entries as either general, or we could have those that are specific for education, specific for auto. So again, if you're from the auto industry, you may not care about all these other events that are going on, but you'll be able to sort this calendar in terms of just looking at the events that may be of interest to you. This is just another view of the calendar. You can either have it in the classic mode or in the agenda mode. The next one here is forums. We have a very powerful plugin that allows us to run basically limitless forums simultaneously. And these are basically discussion boards, and they can be used in different ways. One thing we can do is we can make them sector specific. So you see, for example, I have two there on education, Great Lakes Green Chemistry Student Network Forum, Michigan Green Chemistry Education Network. There could be one for the auto. The Great Lakes Green Chemistry Student Network Forum may have two, because I think Glenn's thinking of having an Ask the Expert type column. So we can actually use a forum to run the Ask the Expert type column, where Glenn will invite someone who will pose a statement or something about green chemistry, which will appear under the Great Lakes Green Chemistry Student Network page, the bio of the person, a photograph of the person, but it would link to a forum here where people could respond to the opinion expressed by Ask the Expert, or they could ask questions of Ask the Expert. Another way we can use forums is basically they can be private. They don't, you subscribe to it, members, you have to be a member and then you subscribe. But we could have, if the auto industry wanted to have, you basically had to become a member of the Auto Green Chemistry Forum in order to participate in that forum. We can provide that too. So basically, any group, any member that would like to start a forum would like to start a focus group on a particular area of green chemistry, pharmaceuticals, or a specific issue. It might be polyols. You want to talk specifically about polyols. We can create any kind of number of forums and provide all kinds of permission levels to those forums. While I'm here, in case I don't get the chance, the Great Lakes Green Chemistry Student Network and Michigan Green Chemistry Education Network are already existing programs that are out there. And this is a beautiful success story for the Clearinghouse, because it shows how there's these entities out there and that already, are already known. But now that they are, they can now run their programs through the Clearinghouse, utilizing all the IT functionality that the Clearinghouse can provide for them. Something else that we're going to have that is actually on a different IT system, so it's linked to from the Clearinghouse, is a virtual learning environment called Moodle. And this is an open source content management system specifically for running curricula and educational materials, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's got more power than just the content management system we're using for the Clearinghouse itself is powerful, but this Moodle is even more powerful, and it's specifically designed for that kind of interactive online educational type modules. Key thing we have to remember with this, though, is that this is a state-funded project, so anything we put up on this Moodle is basically has to be freely available for people to use. So we're not suggesting that a college could use this, for its private curricula around, around green chemistry. Anything that goes up here would have to be a part of the Creative Commons. But we're hoping that our members will contribute materials, educational materials. The courses could be, just slide-based PowerPoint presentations like the University of York did for their Green Chemistry Network, where they had a kind of a PowerPoint presentation on each one of the 12 principles of green chemistry. Or someone could create a self-quiz tutorial on green chemistry. I mean, we have all the IT functionality to do that. Another page is the webinars. Right now, what you'll find there is pretty much just a list of the webinars that we've been hosting with the Great Lakes Green Chemistry Network. Once it goes live, though, you'll be able to register for the webinars and do all that right here. I mean, right now you are receiving an email that's coming out to you, and you have to go through that process. In the future, you will still get that email, but at the same time, you can also just come right here to the site and click on the registration. This is an example of, this is an RSS feed page. Basically what we can do is we have what's called a widget template that allows us to arrange widgets so that we are streaming in feeds from other sites, that any feed that we think that is appropriate or maybe of interest for the green chemistry community, we can feed it straight in here. So again, you don't now, previously you might have to, one day you feel like reading green chemistry articles and you have to go to that website and go fetch that article, or you want to go to the environmental health perspectives and click on that. Now you can come to the Clearinghouse, one site, and see what's, at a glance, see what's going on, with all these RSS feeds. I have 3 on the screen, but again, that's just a screenshot. Below these can be another 3, and below those can be another 3, and below those can be another 3. We have limitless RSS feeds streaming into one page. So again, if your intent for coming to the Clearinghouse on this day is to quickly check what's going on, in the publication world around green chemistry, you can quickly come here and see what's going on. We're going to be doing the same thing with social networking. It's not quite ready yet. We're testing out some plugins, but the same concept would be, one of the feedbacks we got from people was the frustration of, if you have to you're following one green chemistry group on LinkedIn, and you're following another green chemistry group through Facebook, and you're following another one through Twitter, and it can be very difficult to keep jumping around, keeping track of all these feeds. So what we've done is we've created a Michigan Green Chemistry Clearinghouse account in all of these different social media, and then that Green Chemistry Clearinghouse subscribes to all the other green chemistry programs that are out there, and basically it'll look something like this screen, where we will have a different box for each one of the social media accounts that we subscribe to, and you'll see the feeds coming right here. One thing I didn't say about the RSS feed right now is if you click on any of these feeds, I'm sure if you're familiar with RSS feeds, if you click on any of these, it'll take you to that journal's website. We're not offering free access to this journal. It'll just take you to that, whatever if you click on that, it'll show you whatever the journal's website allows you to see. We also have mailing lists. Again, it doesn't seem overly exciting, but basically we can consolidate, all the Clearinghouse's mailing lists into one, the Great Lakes Student Chemistry Networks one, the Michigan Green Chemistry Education Network one. Basically all these different mailing lists we can subscribe and run through one account, and basically we have one email in the name of the Clearinghouse that can manage all of these different networks. And again, we have a limitless number of mailing lists that we can create. So if you're interested in using the Clearinghouse to run a specific focus group, not only can you have a forum to run that focus group, you could also have your own mailing list. So for example, as you can see there, I have the Great Lakes Green Chemistry Student Network now. So Lynn, as an administrator on the Clearinghouse, will be able to manage that program and that mailing list right here through the Clearinghouse. But at the same time, Grand Valley State University can manage their Michigan Green Chemistry Education Network right through the same Clearinghouse at the same time. As a part of that, as part of the Clearinghouse, we have standardized a newsletter theme preview, which we have up here. That's default. It's built in. All emails that will go out will have this in the future. Will have this icon. But again, we can customize this. So Lynn can add her logo for the Great Lakes Green Chemistry Student Network. Grand Valley can add their logo for the Michigan Green Chemistry Education Network. So I'll jump through these maps because we're all familiar with those. I'll jump through these galleries and videos just in the interest of time. So hopefully that gives you kind of a feel of the kind of interactive elements. But let's say now you came and you wanted to look at something specifically from you know, a specific sector that you're in, education. You've come here and you want to see what's here for education. Well, you click on education, and there's an example of how that navigation tree will look. That's very provisional right now. We're in the process of building up the content as we speak right now. So this just kind of gives you a more detailed tree of what the education sector will look like, kind of the logic and what you can expect to see, find here in the future. And I'll point out again, there's the Great Lakes Green Chemistry Student Network. Will have its own pages and sections for running all of its activities. The Michigan Green Chemistry Education Network will have its own pages. So again, I just want to show you this. This is just a mock-up. The point of this slide is just to show you that once you click on a particular page, I made the point early on in the presentation that we want to make sure that the interactions are weaved throughout the whole site. So you can see here that that RSS feed, for example, when you entered through the Interact, you got to see all the RSS feeds, irrespective of whether you're interested in Auto Week or or not. They were there. But when you come to the education site, what we can do now in the widget is we can show RSS feeds that are only specific to higher education, for example. So very few people are going to read, if you're not a scientist or a researcher, you're probably not going to be reading about ruthenium diacetate catalyzed oxidative alkylation of CH bonds in air. But if you are in higher education, then that's going to be of very interest to you. So now we can tailor-make the page to bring the interaction that's happening in the Interact section and tailoring it, customizing it for this page. Also, for example, down here, we can recent forum posts. You can imagine that once we have all those forums running, we can very quickly get to a point where it's overwhelming. There's just too many, there's so many forums going on there, it kind of boggles the mind. But again, if you're only interested in education postings, if you come to this education page, that little plugin at the bottom there, recent forum posts, it'll only show posts that are specific to education. And again, through use of tagging and all kinds of other threads and things like that, we can even make that widget say only report from the education forum on specific topics that may be of interest to this page. We'll go over to industry. So again, industry is a very wide term. So again, we can create pages, content specific, sector specific content for all kinds of different kinds of industries. So just to make that same point then, for auto sector, if we clicked on the auto sector, now it looks a little different. You see the same thing now off on the left there. The news announcement that I have there gets old, but it's more specific to the auto industry. The RSS feed that's coming in is more specific to the auto industry. And, yes. I'm almost done, Lynn. Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you. So to end off, so here again is that URL. And the last thing I wanted to say is just to put this in perspective is that our QA server will be shut down on this Friday. It will be shutting down for the IT people to go live. So by Friday the 23rd of September, we will be going live with the Clearinghouse. And this time I will take any questions.
If the Clearinghouse has any interaction with relevant entities at the federal level, for example, policy advocacy, regulation, oversight of green sustainable initiatives, state-federal partnerships, please elaborate a bit.
Well,
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did hear the question. I guess,
you can see if you...
Yeah, I see it. I've just read it. I guess what I'm battling with is the word interaction. I'm not quite sure what kind of interaction. I think it's important to remember that the Clearinghouse project is an informational portal. It's to bring information. It's to bring information to the green chemistry community, and it is a place for and to grow a community of interaction. So to the extent that we can have federal people that want to come participate on the Clearinghouse, that is great. But it's not like we, as a part of our scope of work, we are behind the scenes working with the federal government on policy issues or regulatory issues. We're not doing that. I mean, we are here to inform and we've chosen to inform through, your classic means of, informational content, but also by creating a peer-to-peer environment for learning and sharing. So to the extent that we can bring the federal government and become a part of our community, then yes, hopefully we can interact on that level. Deb, I don't know if you have a different perspective on the question.
I think it's definitely the engagement, and I think we want to stress the fact that the focus is on Michigan for this. So as we would say, for example, let's say there's a new federal law, we might have a forum in the industry section that says, okay, this is how this might affect businesses. What are your thoughts on this? And again, try to engage some, I guess, learning alongside one another. And obviously the regulatory environment, there's a lot to learn. So it is really through that engagement, but the Clearinghouse itself is not actively supporting one kind of legislation or another.
Yeah, so basically in terms of content, we really don't take positions on things other than it's our job to basically inform, let everyone know what is being discussed, what is happening, what are the debates, what are the controversies. So we're not. So on one hand, we don't take positions on anything, but on the other hand, we do have a mandate as our part of our contract that this is the Michigan Green Chemistry Clearinghouse. So we have to focus primarily on Michigan. We're focusing primarily on green chemistry, but more importantly is that we must adhere to the definition of green chemistry, the scope and boundaries of green chemistry that is supported and championed by the state of Michigan's green chemistry program. So, often we'll get, I've had a question before about, well, is this going to become a free-for-all where everyone's opinion can be expressed and you can have, all kinds of extreme activity going on? And my answer to that is, well, I think extreme activity is lively debate, in my opinion. But to answer that, we want to encourage dialogue, we want to encourage debate, but at the same time, we do have the ability to make sure that what is happening on the Clearinghouse, we do have some boundaries. We have to adhere to the authenticity of what green chemistry means to the state of Michigan.
I have another question that says there are lots of voices here. The most obvious one that's missing is that of workers. Their stories about what works and how to improve changes are a key part of green chemistry. For example, green cleaners is an obvious one, but so would new auto processes and practices. Would you consider adding a place for this on the site?
Yes. So thank you for that question. Again, that is one of the things that we are trying to solicit from people as we launch this clearinghouse is, do we have the content that you want to see? Are we targeting? Are we speaking to all the right sectors? So, for example, what we hope we have done is cast the initial umbrella wide enough. So, for example, we are told that we must, the clearinghouse should address the public sector. So, in my mind, that question about the worker, that falls into the public sector. So we have the placeholder. It's right there. It's the public. And so we can definitely build on that by being more specific and break that public down into subsectors. It could be workers, it could be NGO community. We have the ability to do that, yes.
I have another question. I'm interested in keeping up with significant green chemistry developments, including policy initiatives. I'm a bit concerned that the feeds will be overwhelming and there is a need for an editor who identifies these new developments. Will there be...
I'm sorry, can you repeat what they felt would be overwhelming?
That the feeds will be overwhelming and that there is a need for an editor who identifies these new developments, which I have to say, Clinton, I sort of interpret as, will there be anybody sort of doing oversight on these feeds and kind of highlighting, new things, or it's just, you have the option to come to the feed and you have to sort through it by yourself?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it sounds like a good problem to have. One of the things that we've been informed about is when we go around and we talk about this clearinghouse and what we've done is we get a lot of positive comments and constructive criticism. And one of the constructive criticisms is, well, you've created a great well, but how are you going to get the horse to come and drink? And so even our IT partner tells us that discussion boards sound like a great idea, but in their experience, they don't get much traffic on them. And we are trying to get around that. We're hoping we can make that change, that we know that the green chemistry community tends to be a very lively community that loves to debate and talk about things. So we appreciate that we may be wrong. So I'd see that as a good problem to have. So if I'm forced to think about how that would play out, that we do land up with feeds that are just overwhelming, basically maybe naive right now, but my initial thinking is what we are hoping to do is, like I say, we provide this IT platform, but it's not like I don't have the time to sit and administrate every single forum. And I'm sure that anyone can appreciate that would just be crazy. And of course, if I had to do that, I'm going to get delinquent, and there's going to be lots going on that I'm not aware of. So, but we do need to keep a tight rein on it. So where we're going to start with these forums is that once we create a forum and those feeds start, we're going to designate an administrator. So again, we have our partners, or we're selected because there are those that are responsible for education, and there are those that are responsible for public, and there are those that are responsible for industry, for example. So I'll take myself, SRG is supposed to be responsible for the industry sector. So I would probably be the moderator, the administrator initially on any industry-related forum that would start. And definitely what we would try and stay on top of is that if we see that there are feeds that are starting to get common, be of a certain nature, we would suggest that those groups create a new forum just to focus on that specific issue. So we can create all kinds of sub-forums and forums as we want. And of course, then someone else will be administrating education, etc. And hopefully what's going to happen is through time is that we're going to have loyal members of our community that we trust, and someone's going to come and say, we need a forum to discuss this issue. So I'm going to say, okay, great, well, will you administrate that forum? So to the extent that we can, we will try and have administrators. We will try and keep the forums, to be on topic specific as possible. And I know it may be naive, but like I say, that would be a good problem to have.
Okay. This is your last chance. We're almost at the end of our webinar. This was really terrific. I want to thank both Deb and Clinton. And I must say that the Clearinghouse is a very exciting idea. We're really looking forward to being able to expand, the reach of our content by having links to our website and to really getting the student network going. And on that note, I'd really like to encourage any of you who are listening who know of students who might be interested in the network and if you are teaching classes, to really start putting the word out that we will be having this website and we will be launching the student network later this month, and that we will have an Ask an Expert column to begin with by Buzz Q, who is one of the founders of the American Chemical Society Pharmaceutical Green Chemistry Roundtable. And we hope to have other postings by experts in the future, and we really would like to send them the questions that students have. And we will be forming a students advisory board, so if you have students who you think would really have an interest in helping us build the student network, please contact me through my email, lchary@sbcglobal.net. And I really hope to hear from you with any of your ideas or suggestions.